Hey everybody, Jim Powers with MaryvilleSaints.com and Saints Vision. And the fall has kind of been a strange fall for a lot of people, especially our fall sports that are moving to the spring. And we thought it'd be a good time to start to catch up with our fall sport coaches. And joining us is our men's soccer coach, David Korn. And David, first off, how's the family? How's everybody hanging in there health wise? And how did you survive being a teacher all summer long with the kiddos?
Well, you're not kidding. I don't know how I survived being a teacher. I think the light at the end of the tunnel of coming back to the office and getting back to the season got me through. But no, our family's doing well, thank you. Good to get to a little bit more of a routine again, and truthfully, just good to be back. Around some of the student athletes, and obviously, nice to see that things have been managed so well by the university.
David, we had talked. In fact, you were one of our first interviews back when the whole pandemic thing started and everything, and we now are finally getting a chance to catch up. But one of the things that the student athletes have mentioned all spring, all summer, and even here into the fall is how well Maryville University was prepared to pivot and to go to an all virtual learning platform. That way we could all work remotely, the students, the student athletes, us as faculty and staff. And that's been one of the big things. And I think our student athletes really excelled when you look at the GPAs from this past spring.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was probably our strongest GPA, and I want to say in the 5 years that we've been here as a staff, every semester we've been over a 3.0, which is a goal of ours. But yeah, I think we set a record, this past spring, and that's a big credit because I think emotionally there was a lot our student athletes went through when we did talk in March and kind of had to make so many changes. And so far meeting with the players, I think there's been challenges this fall again to just maybe being a fall sport, not going through your season, not playing games, and having some of those setbacks. But to their credit, the university, I think, has made the classes really manageable. Like you said, we've gotten the technology, we have the infrastructure. And I think where we've improved is I think there's a lot better support and services for our student athletes. And, that's a conscious effort the university's done. And even at the NCAA level that they've tried to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you just see how well versed our student athletes are, and coming into a hybrid type of schedule for the fall, and very similar to what we're going to see in the spring. I think our kids are going to be absolutely ready to just attack it and do extremely well. But I think the one thing too, and especially with our student athletes, is you've got to be very disciplined. And I know all of our coaches have talked to their teams about, okay, you're doing hybrid still, or you're gonna have some classes. You've got to be very disciplined in your approach to stuff. And I know that's something you and your staff has talked to the men's soccer team about.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting going through this now, being into what would have been our fifth fall season as a coaching staff, because I think to our players' credit, they've grown a lot. I think they're an incredibly responsible group, especially when it comes to their commitment to their academics. And traditionally, we would have provided them with a schedule, as they enter into preseason back in early August, that would have had every day planned out between now and what would have hopefully been our national championship in December. And so they would have known if they've set up their work schedule, their internships, campus jobs, academic stuff, study groups. And because of so much of the evolution at times and our need to pivot training sessions or manage changes to capacity in the weight room and have to go into smaller groups, there's been a lot more changes. And usually our schedule has been more week to week, which I know can challenge our students who are so used to having everything planned out. But I think that they've managed it really well, and to their credit, I think they've got a good culture they've created in regards to how they do work on the field when they come to training, how they do work off the field, and then how they've been able to handle some of the things off the field and be responsible about their choices.
And I think the one big thing too is you look at the senior leadership of this of your team. I mean, with Ewan and Dom, and I mean, you've just got such an incredible core of leadership there. Those guys aren't afraid to hold the younger guys' feet to the fire, so to say.
No, definitely. I mean, we thrive because more and more of our older players have become more self-directed, and they've done a really good job of mentoring some of the younger players. And even as coaches, at times that takes the load off of us to know that some of our seniors, like you mentioned, and some in our leadership group are able to handle, some of the training aspects, some of the planning in the off season, and just able to really help, come alongside some of the younger players. And we've looked at, if this is your first experience in college as a freshman, I mean, this is so much different. You're kind of a little bit more confined to your dorm room, and the interactions you get maybe aren't as global with the whole team. Usually we do all these team functions, team events. We talk about how much we're a family, and we spend a lot of time off the field, and we've had to figure out how to be a family in a different capacity. And I think our older guys have done a really good job. And to be honest, in some ways, some of our younger players are probably as close as ever, because they've all been insulated as freshmen in the dorms, or in their groups. So it's been fun to see some of those relationships grow, and we're excited to continue to kind of leverage that as we move forward in this process.
I know I missed the preseason spaghetti dinner. That's all I'm gonna say. I miss coming to the courthouse for dinner, to kick off the season. So,
Hey, we
but
missed you.
let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now, and then obviously the JLVC released the spring schedule a week and a half ago, and you guys haven't been able to do a whole lot team wise just yet. And I think that it's been a very deliberate approach with keeping everybody safe and mitigations and stuff like that. But what have you guys been able to do throughout the fall here? And then what are your thoughts about the spring schedule, which I think is shaped up to be a very, very challenging schedule for us?
Yeah, I mean, we benefit. We play in such a strong conference, and we benefit that, we've got 15 teams. So the NCAA allowed soccer to play 14 games. So, I mean, it fits pretty naturally. We're going to play our 14 opponents, and it makes for a really fun regular season, because there's more on the line in the regular season, and then earning your way into the conference tournament. I mean, there's two trophies we can win this year instead of a third that's a national tournament. So if anything, I think it's going to make those games even more important, especially for some of our seniors who may decide that, hey, this could be their final year of playing. But no, we're excited about that. We've been a little bit more restricted in regards to team trainings, but to be honest, it's probably helped us create a little bit better curriculum and learn a lot as a coaching staff. When this did start in March, we had to do everything virtual and figure out ways to create soccer workouts or individual fitness and strength workouts for our athletes if they didn't have the same resources as being on campus. So I think that will really benefit us in the future when we need to send things to our athletes, whether those are newcomers or returning players, in some of our periods where we're away from each other naturally because of winter or summer break. And then even this time, we've got to focus really on each player's individual development plan, helping empower them to do the things they need to grow as a player, which is going to collectively make our team better. And that's allowed us to maybe focus on some things in training that normally this type of year we wouldn't. We'd be getting ready to just prepare for our next match, and it's really cyclical. So we've been able to focus a little bit more on the development of each player and really onboarding some of our freshmen. And it's in some ways been a more natural transition to getting ready for the season. So, it maybe wouldn't have been our ideal situation, but again, a credit to our coaching staff has done a really good job. And our student athletes have been incredibly mature, knowing that, hey, these are the challenges we face and how do we make the best of it?
I think one of the challenges too, David, and I'll let you talk about this, and it's just kind of a little bit of a thing that in talking to a lot of coaches, especially with soccer, you're literally going to play two full seasons in one calendar year. I mean, for a lot of these guys, they're used to playing, playing the club and that kind of stuff. But when you play the high intensity as the GLVC is, two seasons in the matter of a year, where you're talking maybe 40 games in the matter of 12 months, you know, what is going to be you and Z and Sean's philosophy when it comes to how are we approaching this and how are we going down this road once January 1st hits?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we want to play 17 games this spring because we've played our conference slate and played all the way through the championship and hoisted the trophy. And we want to play another, 25 in the fall. And so that's a lot between February and April, a short break, and then a lot between August and December. So I think the good news is, as an athlete, you want to play. I wouldn't say don't like the spring season typically, but the fact that for weeks we're only training as a group and then we play some exhibitions, I think they want to play. Now the onus is on us as a coaching staff to figure out the recovery part of that, to figure out how to keep them healthy, how to keep them fit, especially after such a long layoff from the previous fall in 19, from being quarantined at home, and then every athlete's restrictions in their city, their state, their country being so different. But again, I think the motivating factor is we know games are coming up soon, so we have to be ready. We've got to stay sharp, and then we'll probably supplement a lot more with some teaching video wise and doing some things that virtually will allow us to be ready, that maybe physically doesn't take the same toll.
And the one thing too, and I think, and me and you actually talked about this offline earlier this summer. The NCAA, the Division One coaches have been pushing for a split fall spring season for quite some time, and now you're seeing a lot of the Division Two and Division Three conferences going to the spring. Going to the spring. It's almost like this is going to be the crash test dummy portion of, will this really work for the NCAA to kind of play that split fall spring season when it comes to men's and women's soccer?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think truthfully, as coaches, we would love that, and I know our student athletes would love that. Even if it meant we played a few less fall games, but maybe we weren't traveling midweek, maybe you're missing less class, to then go ahead and play again in the spring, and then our championship being the warmer months. I think that would be great. I mean, it's funny, we come in July and August, and it's 100 plus on the turf, and then if you think about last year, we're playing in deep in the NCAA tournament. The tournament's hosted in Pennsylvania, and it's 25, 30 degrees. So I mean, it's a lot different. So it would be great to play in those summer months. We know globally that's hard on resources for an athletic department, for our facilities, and even just the NCAA to put on so many championships late in the spring. But I think we love to be the crash test model. I hope it goes off really well, and whatever we can do, we'll hold signs, we'll vote. But yeah, we'd love to play year round.
No doubt about it. Well, David, I appreciate the time. It's always great to catch up with you. I know personally, there's been a void this fall not having, our fall sports, but I'm also doubly excited about the spring and seeing, our teams compete and, get out there and have a lot of fun, and especially continue to build off the success that our men's soccer program has shown over the last couple of years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and it's been a fun time for us this fall. Even if we've kind of paused on some of our games, it's been great to kind of figure out ways to be active in our community. Our athletes have helped kind of organize a food bank virtually, and I think this is an important time of year if it's registering to vote and being active, in some of our civil duties. So it's been a good learning process, and some things off the field, but you're right. We're very excited to get out this spring, and we just hope everyone's safe. We hope everyone's active to vote, and we just want to continue to see a lot of positive outcomes in our communities and our country.
Outstanding stuff, buddy. We will talk to you soon. Can't wait to actually see you physically on campus when we're both on campus at the same time. So looking forward to catching up with you on campus, buddy.
Thanks. Go Saints.
Absolutely. David Korn, our men's soccer coach, joins us, and great to catch up with him and our outstanding soccer programs, between David and having a chance to talk to Elisa Waterhouse this week. It's great to finally talk a little bit of soccer with our programs. So we'll have a lot more coming up in the spring with both our men's and women's teams. But right now they're continuing to train and they're continuing to do everything that they need to do. So it'll be fun to see them get back on the pitch in February. For Coach, I'm Jim Powers. Thanks so much for tuning in to MaryvilleSaints.com and Saints Vision. Have a great week. And as always, go Saints.